So what you see here is a collection of duck eggs. This is in their duck house, but they don't only keep them there. They will also go out and put them anywhere, such as at the base of a number of trees, for example. So the duck eggs I do lightly scrub with some running water just to get all that dirt off of them and everything. That means they have to go in the fridge. So in order to keep this scientific and even, I did put the rest of the eggs in the fridge. Now, we are going to add these eggs to the pan in the same order that you saw them in the opening of the video. So first was the goose, this is the turkey, so on and so forth. And we'll talk about it more once we eat these eggs. Now, we just buttered the bottom of the pan a little bit there, and the temperature is on medium, and obviously the big ones are going to be in there the longest, and that's okay to a certain extent because they got to cook longer. But these are not going to be perfectly cooked. That's just the way of it. It would have been an incredible affair to cook one egg, set it to the side, cook another egg, set it to the side. Not only that, but cold eggs are not great, so we did what we could. We got as scientific as we could without getting ridiculous. What we really want to do is look at these eggs so you can see the difference in the shells, the difference in the sizes, the colors, the color of the yolk, which, of course, is influenced by diet. Now, there is some exaggeration out there about the nutritional value, the nutrient quality of an orange yolk as opposed to a yellow yolk. It's a bit exaggerated. There is a slight nutritional value in it being orange or red rather than yellow, but it's not huge. The main benefit of that color is culinary. It looks better. Look at that little quail egg. So even just looking at it in the pan here, you can see that dark orange egg just looks better, and part of that might just be because we're conditioned to think that. And then with the fairy egg, and that fairy egg, for some reason, had a little yolk in it. They're not supposed to, as I've read. This is the first time I've cooked a fairy egg, so we're learning about that too. Anyway, that's what they all look like in the pan. The sizes, how do they cook up? You can already start seeing the consistency. Now that that's out of the way, we salt and pepper. What do they taste like? Now, there's a few interesting things I'd like to point out before we start tasting these things. The goose egg and the duck egg. You can see how their whites are so very white. And they didn't spread out so much, and I think that is part of the textural complement to these eggs. That is to say that they have a much thicker, creamier texture. Now, I don't typically fry goose eggs because they're so big, they take so long, and when I have a fried egg, I like to fry it like this, nice and slow. And I got to stop poking the eggs and getting my fingers dirty. Nice and slow. And it really, I don't even flip them. And the egg yolks get a sort of firmness to them, but not too firm. And it's just a really slow, long, drawn out process. So when you have an egg like this, it takes a long time. Now, this can be a little bit intimidating for some people. If you're not a big egg lover, frying an egg like a goose egg can be challenging. It's a lot of egg, and it's a lot of thick egg. It takes a while to go down. Now, I personally love eggs. I love goose eggs. I typically use the goose egg for scrambled or omelets, and you can see why they'd be good for omelets. You only need one. But looking at the size of the eggs, this is the turkey egg. Now, some of these eggs were a little older than others. That is to say, maybe they were a week old instead of a day or two old. As they age, the whites get thinner. Now, the goose egg is slightly different because it's got this very thick part and this thinner part, and I think all eggs do to a certain extent, depending on their age. But Obviously, this one is more substantial. So the turkey egg is very similar to the guinea, the chicken, the quail, and the fairy egg in that it spreads out in the same way and it browns quicker. It's thinner in general. So you can see that right off the bat. The waterfowl eggs are thicker just by looking at them. And typically I also wouldn't cook all these eggs in the same pan, so that obviously impacted my ability to control everything. This, for demonstration purposes, is good enough, but typically I would do a better job with these eggs. Now, you can see how the guinea's egg yolk is much more orange than the others, with exception to, well, it's even more orange than the turkey. And this silky egg came from the farm, and we just got done revitalizing the run there, the quad, the penitentiary, if you will. So they're adjusting, and that's probably a new layer. But the guineas are practically velociraptors. They're out there eating bugs, they're eating grass, they're eating weeds, they're eating everything, really. They even peck on the side of my vehicle. So the orange comes from elements within certain plants, not the bugs. So unless of course the bugs ate those plants and they become little orange yolk capsules. But research has shown that while there is a slight nutritional benefit to having a more orange yolk, it's typically just more appealing to the eye. It's a culinary issue, so long as the nutrition is the same. What you can tell though, when you buy a store-bought egg, and it doesn't matter what kind it is, whether it's in the styrofoam or it's one of those cage-free, whatever, $8 a dozen Publix eggs, they've been there a while. Chances of them getting that egg to you within a few days is probably pretty slim. Now, I don't know that for sure. I know that for sure for the mass-produced eggs, and the styrofoam, but the cage-free and all that stuff, I don't want to speak on specifics for them, but take some time to look into those. This is as good an example of each fried egg as you might be able to find. And just going over it again, fairy egg. This is a misfiring in the egg development process. So the egg went on without a developed yolk. This one actually had a small yolk in it. I've never heard of a fairy egg having a small yolk in it. And I suppose there's always a chance that this came from some other kind of bird. I doubt it, but you never know. Quail egg, silky egg, guinea egg, duck egg, turkey egg, and goose egg. So we're gonna start here. I'm just gonna pick up, we're gonna start with smallest and go to the biggest. I'm gonna pick it up like you're not supposed to. Here's the fairy egg. Looks like an egg white. Like something you'd put on a tiny little sandwich. Okay? It's good. Tastes like a chicken egg white. Now, quail egg yolk, this is pretty cool. That's what I'm talking about when you cook it slow like that. So you can see that it's soft, but there is a texture to it. Let's try it. Remember, we're going on about the flavor now. All the yolks are similar in the way they cook and the way they rise or solidify, even in the boiling process. Now, you have to do it a little different depending on the bird, due to the size of the eggs, the consistency of the shell, things like that. But we're going for flavor here. Does the quail taste different? Oh, I better take a sip of water first. Gotta cleanse the palate. Now, it's just salt and pepper on here. You saw me do that. Excuse me. There's some pepper. Okay. The quail egg tasted just like the fairy egg, but with a yolk in it. A nice, subtle, creamy yolk. All right? And I hope you'll forgive me. I'll get to my fork later. But I want to get it all in at once so we can experience this. And we're going on to the silky egg. Okay. Now that's a real good egg. It's got a good consistency, a good texture, but it just tastes like a bigger quail egg. No difference in flavor there. I've never had a guinea egg before. Those other ones I've had, except the fairy egg, but that's just chicken egg, right? Never had a guinea egg, so this is exciting. Guinea egg looks to be cooked about the same. Okay. That one may as well have been a chicken egg. A silky egg. Tastes just like a silky egg, and it has the same texture and consistency as the silky egg. There was no difference in flavor there. None. All right. Duck egg. Now we're getting on to the big ones. I might have to take out the fork here for the bigger ones. Duck egg. Same deal. So you can see it, hopefully you can see that. It's loose on the top, but the inside is sort of firm. Where are my words? I got too many eggs in my mouth. Sort of firm. All right, here we go. I know that's rude putting all that food in my mouth. Excuse me. It's for science, right? All right. The duck egg. The flavor is just like the guinea egg. It tastes exactly the same. Tastes like a farm fresh egg. Mind you, all of these have more flavor than store-bought eggs. I think at this point, I think most people understand that, so I don't want to dwell on that too much, but I do want to mention they're all better than store-bought eggs. With the texture, the consistency, the way they cook, the way they taste, everything's better. But thus far, all of those have tasted the same. That duck egg was a little thicker. It has a little different consistency, and you can actually see that. We talked about it already, but you can see this is flat. Now, I wouldn't cook it this far in most cases. And this is almost, I mean, it's like, I wouldn't call it plastic, but it's got the consistency of raw squid. And hopefully that's something that some of you understand. It's the consistency of raw squid. So it's squishy, like dried glue or something. It's not tough. You see, I can put my finger to it. That's not what I mean, but it's thick. It's thick. This is like pressing on the plate. It's not thick. All right, I might be able to, no, I probably shouldn't. Let me at least take off some of this white. I don't want to puncture the yolk on it. I had another plate here. You know what, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's eat this egg. Now here's a turkey egg. So far, the white tastes like a duck egg. The texture is different. The texture is like a chicken egg, which you might have imagined because it looks just like a chicken egg, doesn't it? So, that tastes like an egg you'd fry. I mean, just a regular chicken egg. If somebody wasn't aware that chicken eggs aren't this big, they would never know this wasn't a chicken egg so far. Now I'm gonna cut into this yolk. All right, so look at that. So it looked like this yolk is just absolutely uncooked, but it's not. It's slightly runny, and you can press on it and get some more off there to get on your toast or whatever, but it's not. So let's try a piece. Now this piece has a little red in it. Understand, that thing doesn't matter at all. And aside from the way it looks, and some people are squeamish, that little blood spot there, nothing wrong with it. It's just egg. It's there whether you see it or not. Wow. That's great flavor. By the way, egg yolks are pretty much the mortal enemy of a beard and mustache. So if you're going to have a beard and a mustache, and those of you that already do know what I'm talking about, it's getting in there and it's hard to get out. But this is great. Yeah. That tastes like the duck egg. You might have noticed a theme here. Each one tasted just like the last one. And that is, what I'm saying here is all of these have tasted almost identical. Now, I don't have a Gordon Ramsay palate, but my palate is pretty good. Good enough, excuse me, good enough to tell the difference between one thing and another most of the time. I can't tell the difference. It's just a textural thing. So the turkey, the egg white, had the texture and consistency of the chicken egg. The yolk had the texture and consistency of the duck egg yolk. That's pretty neat. Now, with our turkeys, each turkey lays approximately 30 to 40 eggs a year. All of them in the springtime. And, you know, they'll lay every other day or so. And we have a number of turkeys, a number of laying bourbon red turkeys. So we've got a lot of turkey eggs and we don't need to hatch them all. And thus far, we haven't bothered with selling them. So we got to have something to do with them. This is something to do with them. I'll eat every turkey egg that we get. Unless you want some, let me know. You live in my area, if you live in Northwest Florida, particularly Okaloosa County, Walton, maybe Santa Rosa. We just might have some for you as I knock all my dishes around. This is a lot of eggs to eat. I'm getting full. All right, so goose egg. We're going to try to do the same thing that we did with the turkey egg. And this is probably a good idea so that you can see just how thick that is. Now, I didn't cook that any differently than the others, except for this one and the duck egg. Because they were so thick, they took longer. So to expedite the process and cook the top portion of it before burning the bottom. Now, a lot of that is the butter, but you don't want too much of that. And if you cook the egg right, you won't get much of that. But we wanted to cook the top as well, so I put a lid over the top of the pan to expedite the process since it's so thick. Other than that, identical. And now I've handled my food, I'm just going to put it in my mouth. All right. The flavor profile of the white is exactly the same as the rest of them. The only difference is the thickness. Because of the thickness, it doesn't have as much of the buttery crunchy as the other whites. So it tasted more seasoning and more butter on the turkey and chicken eggs and the guinea. But as far as the egg itself, it tastes exactly the same so far. The big difference here is cooking it like this and leaving it sit this long. Another thing about eggs is you really want to eat them quickly, especially these eggs, trust me. This is almost, this is almost plastic. It's so thick. It's not off-putting to me. Like if you remove the egg yolk and just cook the white, that would go great on a sandwich because it has a texture and consistency to it that is unique, in my opinion, to waterfowl. And you saw that, so I guess it's not my opinion. It's unique to waterfowl, as far as I know. I should say it that way. You could cook that egg white up and put it on a sandwich and use it as the meat. So a lot of times, if you put a fried egg on a sandwich, you're going to get some of that flavor out of it, but that's mostly for the yolk, because the yolk's going to run out and coat it, and you got a textural kind of creaminess to it. In this case, you could actually use the white as a meat. And I think I'm going to experiment with that a little bit. But back to it, the flavor of it is the same as the others. I probably should have got a knife. I am just making a mess. So again, just like the turkey egg and the duck egg, the yolk is a little runny, but not so runny. It's an interesting thing. This is a lot I'm going to put in my mouth. I got to try. It is all in my beard. I knew that was going to happen. I probably should have done this with a spotter. When we go out to eat, whoever's sitting across from me, it's their job to check my beard. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Make sure there's nothing in it. But I know there's egg yolk in my beard. All right. Let me finish this and I'll give you my thought. Maybe thoughts. I don't know. Maybe just one thought. See how it pops out of there? I love that texture. All right. It tastes like the rest of them. I'll tell you right now, I just ate 7 different eggs from 6 different species. And some of those eggs came from here at the annex. Some of them came directly from the ranch. So different places, different nutrient content, well, different diet, I should say. Some of them were older, some of them were newer. They all tasted the same, folks. You heard me say it right here. That's gonna hurt some feelings, I know that. There's some people out there that swear this one tastes better than the other. And maybe it does. Maybe it does to some people. I can't sit here and tell you that you're wrong if you believe one tastes better than the other. But I just ate them all next to each other. Pardon the condition of my nails. I've been in the garden. I did wash my hands up. They all taste the same. The only difference is the texture and how they cook, which lends itself to the texture. Pardon me. That is a lot of egg. My belly doesn't hurt, but I'm full. Good news is that'll all be sorted. It'll all be gone. I'm not going to be walking around here with a heavy belly. I love these things, you know. I'd eat a 5-egg omelet every day if I took the time to stop and eat. Well, thanks for joining us. Hope you learned something. If you didn't, or if you'd like to add anything, please put it in the comment section. I love to learn. I'm always learning. I'm still learning. I learned from this. I learned from you guys. I learned from everything. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram by the name Triple Strand Ranch. TripleStrandRanch.com is the website, and you can get to the links to everything else on the website if that's all you can remember. We'll see you next time.